This is the Elephone U Pro. It's a really powerful Android smartphone with wireless charging and NFC, but is it worth it and can it play any games? Stick around to find out. It's TechWizTime. Hey guys, Jonathan here with TechWizTime, where I create technology tutorial and review videos. Now this phone was sent out by Gearbest, but no money is exchanged hands and thoughts and opinions are definitely my own. So with that out of the way, let's talk about some specs. So inside you've got a Snapdragon 660 processor, which is a 2.2 GHz 8-core processor. Now the Snapdragons are usually found in the higher end smartphones like Samsung Galaxies and so forth, so having a 660 Snapdragon processor in there is really good. Inbuilt is 128 GB of storage and 6 GB of DDR4 memory. Now the good thing about this is that DDR4 memory is a lot faster than DDR3, so with the extra speed of that DDR4, you're going to be getting a lot better performance out of this phone, hopefully. So the other interesting features this phone has is that it's got Bluetooth 5.0, wireless charging, NFC, and also 5 GHz Wi-Fi. But that's not where it ends. This phone actually comes stock with Android 8.0. So for those looking to be cutting edge when it comes to their Android operating system, this is the phone. So whilst we're at it, it's also got the dual SIM card tray where one of the SIM card slots can actually be used for a micro SD card. So you can expand the already 128 GB of inbuilt storage up even further. This one also comes with USB-C, so good job there. And if you're looking for a headphone jack, unfortunately this one doesn't come with one, but it does come with the adapter in the box. Now the screen itself is a 5.99 inch 2160 by 1080 AMOLED display. So this is a really good looking phone. And one other feature I forgot to mention about the screen is that it's actually got the curved display that's familiar in the Samsung Galaxy range. For those looking for an out-of-the-box solution for rooting a phone, this one isn't, so you will have to find a way around that. The battery life is 3550 milliamp hours, so not too bad. And the camera itself is an 8 megapixel front-facing camera and 13 megapixel rear-facing. So if we try and do some pictures now, we'll take a picture of Totoro. And for the front-facing camera, we'll do a little selfie test. So those few pictures there didn't look too bad. All right, so with all those specs out of the way, let's have a look at some tests that I've run here. The first one with A1 SD Bench. Now this is to test the read and write speeds of the internal as well as the micro SD card slot, just to see how fast you're going to be able to read and write. So when it comes to the internal storage, you're looking at 258 megabytes per second on the read and 205 megabytes per second on the write, so not too bad. When it comes to the micro SD card slot, however, the read speed is only at 47 megabytes per second and the write speed is at 48 megabytes per second. So not the fastest that I've seen out there, unfortunately. Now, when it comes to RAM, because of that DDR4 memory that's in there, the 6 gigabytes, we're getting a RAM speed of 7,390 megabytes per second. So that's pretty good. Actually, I've got to say that's pretty awesome. So next up, we test out the Wi-Fi speeds, and this is with speed tests. So when it comes to the download rate, we're getting 181 megabits per second, which is pretty much the maximum connection speed that I've got here. So pretty awesome. And when it comes to the upload speed, we're looking at 71 megabytes per second. Again, that's pretty much the maximum speed. So when it comes to AC Wi-Fi on the 5 gigahertz with this phone, it pretty much maxes out. So good job there. Next up, we look at Antutu, and we're getting an overall score of 136,168. The CPU score comes in at 61,839. We get a 3D score of 30,232. And then we get a UX score of 37,284. And finally, the RAM score comes in at 6,813. All right, so checking out Geekbench, we're getting a single core score of 1,592. And we're getting a multi-core score of 5,259. Next up, we've got 3D Mark. And in the Slingshot test, we're getting a score of 2,009. In Slingshot Extreme, we're getting a score of 1,334. In Ice Storm, we're getting a score of 25,357. And in Ice Storm Extreme, we're pretty much maxing it out, so we're just getting a score here of max. When it comes to the two most popular streaming apps, Netflix and YouTube, you're getting both of those working on this phone straight out of the box. And you're able to stream at 1080p with the YouTube app, so pretty good here. All right, so lastly up for the main event, we're looking at gaming with emulation. Now, normal Android gaming is going to be fine on this phone, but when it comes to emulation, some things work, some things don't. So that's why I always like to test out emulation rather than just Android games in general. So first up, we'll have a look at Ppsspp. That's the PlayStation Portable emulator. And the first game we're going to test out here is Power Stone. Now this is a great, really fast brawler, and you're looking at about 60 frames per second here, so really good. And next up is that notorious title that doesn't like to play well with a lot of devices out there, and that's God of War. In this instance, we're getting between 40 and 50 frames per second, so that's pretty good. Not too bad in my opinion. Next up, we've got Raycast, and that's the Dreamcast emulator for Android. And with Sonic Adventure 2, we're getting between 40 and 50 frames per second on the PAL version. So that's almost the full 50 frames per second that that's capable of. In Shenmue, we're getting about 30 frames per second, so really good here as well. And lastly, the game Soul Calibur, we're looking at about 45 to 55 frames per second. And lastly, we will have a look at the Ppsspp emulator, which is the PlayStation emulator for Android. And Final Fantasy VII is getting a steady 60 frames per second, which is great. The stealthy Metal Gear Solid is getting a 60 frames per second again, which is awesome. And lastly, Tekken 3, which can be a bit of a challenge for some devices, it's running fine at 60 frames per second, so how awesome is that? So with all those specs and tests out of the way, is the Elephone U Pro worth it? Well, as a mid-range phone, if you're looking for something that's got really fast Wi-Fi at the 5 GHz range, you've got DDR4 memory in there, you've got Android 8, you've also got wireless charging and NFC. Pair that with the AMOLED curved display. If you're looking for something with all those features, then I've got to say, for this price range, pretty good. Want to see more awesome tech gadget reviews and tutorials? Then make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to receive email notifications. Did you like this video? Then give it a thumbs up and also check out our Patreon campaign if you love what we're doing here. You can help this video grow by sharing it on social media platforms like Reddit or Facebook groups. Don't forget to check out these other awesome videos that I've created, and as always, imagine, learn, create.